Hello everyone, welcome back to another Mini Mad Science Lab video. My name is Miss Liz. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are going to be completing an Easter themed sink or float science experiment using plastic Easter eggs. But before we get started, if you registered for this program, you should have received a Mini Mad Science Lab bag that looks like this. Inside your bag you will find mostly everything you need for today's project. If you did not register for today's program, that is okay. You can, of course, as always, still follow along by using any materials you may have at home. Alright, so before we get started with our sink or float egg experiment, we're going to quickly go over what we need for today's project. In your bags, you will find a few things. You will first find a sink or float record sheet, which I'm going to go over in just a moment. You also will find that you have 4 plastic Easter eggs, as well as the things we're going to put inside those Easter eggs, which include 1 Lego, 1 marble, 3 pom-poms, and 1 marshmallow. You also will need a few things from home as well, including water, obviously. Just tap water from your sink is fine. I just suggest to use a lukewarm or a cool temperature because you are going to be sticking your fingers and hands in that water, so you don't want to make it too hot so you don't burn yourself. Obviously you will need a bowl or a container or a bin to put your water in as well. I can quickly show you what I am using. Here I have my water poured into kind of like a small storage container. Obviously, if you have a clear container, that might work a little better. That way you can kind of see how your eggs are moving around. So again, a Tupperware bowl, a mixing bowl, a small storage bin. You don't have to use a clear one, but from my experience in kind of playing around with this project, a clear one works best. You also will need a pencil to write on your record sheet, and an optional item includes some Scotch tape. Some of the eggs you have might need to be taped on the sides to ensure that no water leaks inside, so you might just want to keep some Scotch tape handy. Alright, so now we are going to talk a little bit about what is on our record sheet. So as you can see here, there are 3 columns on your record sheet, one for egg items, one that says prediction, and one that says observation. So obviously here we are going to write down which items are going inside our plastic Easter eggs. I already have mine filled out here. So as you can see, I have 1 Lego, 1 marshmallow, this really should say 3 pom-poms, not 1 pom-pom, and 1 marble. So I have all of the items written down here in separate rows. You do have a row down here that's blank. I left that last row blank because I thought it might be fun for everyone at home to find supplies or materials at home to experiment with and put inside their Easter eggs and see if they sink or see if they float. Obviously you can use anything you might have at home that is small enough to fit inside an Easter egg, maybe something you're curious about, whether or not you think it's going to sink or float. Some suggestions might include cereal, maybe like a paper clip or a little toy. Again, anything that was really small enough to fit inside an Easter egg and something that you don't mind getting wet. The middle column here says prediction. If you don't know what the word prediction means, prediction is basically just an educated guess. So it means to take all of your prior knowledge, everything you already know about water density, about the items you're experimenting with, and guess whether or not they're going to sink or are they going to float. So in this column here, you'll write down your guess. Are these items going to sink or are these items going to float? I already have mine written down here. I don't want you to just copy my predictions. I want you to use your own curiosity and your own prior knowledge to make your own predictions, but I can quickly share mine with you. So here I wrote down that I think our Lego is going to sink just because Legos can be a little bit heavy, especially in comparison to the items that we are experimenting with. For marshmallow here, I was a little bit unsure. I wrote down float, but you can probably see here I included a question mark next to float because I really am not sure. I put float next to pom-poms because pom-poms are pretty light, they're pretty airy, pretty fluffy. And I put sink next to marble. Marbles are pretty heavy, again, especially in comparison to the other items, so I do think that one will probably sink. And lastly here, this column says observation. If you don't know what the word observation means, it basically means just to look closely. So it means to watch for your results and then to record your answers. So in this column here, after we conduct our experiment, you're just going to write in the appropriate row, did that item sink or did that item float? It's pretty simple. All right, so next, we're going to get started on filling our Easter eggs, and then we can conduct our experiment. So make sure you have your bowl, your container, your bin with water ready to go. You don't want to fill it up all the way to the top because there might be some splashing when you drop your eggs in. So just fill it up maybe like 3/4 of the way full. All right, I'm going to point my camera down so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to open up all of my eggs here, and then we can get started filling them up. All right, I'm going to put in my 3 pom-poms. Once you have your eggs filled, you can just set them aside, and then we will get started on dropping them in the water. All right, it looks like most of my eggs are pretty secure, so I don't think I'm going to need any Scotch tape, but like I mentioned earlier, feel free to wrap tape around yours if you feel that is necessary. All right, now I have my container of water, and we are ready to go. So something else to keep in mind is you'll want to remember which egg has which item in it. Kind of a helpful tip is maybe just to write down the color of the egg next to which item it is on your record sheet, just in case you might forget. So let's see, in this green egg here is my Lego, which works out nicely since Lego is our first item on the list here. So let's test it out. We're going to drop our egg with our Lego in, and we're going to see what happens. And again, my prediction was that this one will sink. So let's take a look. And I was wrong. Our egg is floating. And it's floating pretty consistently too. It's not bobbing around or anything. All right, next one is this blue egg. I believe it has a marble in it. Let's double check. All right, so next is our egg with our marble. Again, my prediction was that this one will sink, so let's see what happens. And that one doesn't sink either. Looks like my predictions have not been very accurate yet. Hopefully yours were a little more accurate than mine. All right, and next one, I think these are our pom-poms, but let me check. All right, next egg is our one with pom-poms. I'm pretty sure this one will float. I'm pretty sure that this prediction will be accurate. And that one's floating, so I got one right so far. And last but not least is our marshmallow. Let's see what happens with this. Also floating. So it looks like 4 out of our 4 eggs have floated. So make sure you record your observations. I'm curious to know what materials you can find at home that would sink the Easter egg. I definitely thought the marble would sink. If you have other marbles at home, maybe try adding 2 or 3 or 4 marbles, add some weight into that egg and see if it sinks. Maybe add some change, some quarters, some nickels, see if that works. I'm genuinely curious to know what you guys can find that will make your egg sink. Thank you so much for watching my experiment. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something new, and I hope to see you all very soon. Bye-bye.